Last couple of minutes, this tornado warning does impact portions of Jefferson and parts of Douglas counties in Kansas. This is going to be in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We've been watching these thunderstorms continue to build up through at least the last few hours. And so far, this is our first warning of the day, at least the tornado warning. There have already been a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings being issued at this time with this long line that's been extending across northeastern Kansas. Again, this is in effect for Jefferson and Douglas counties in Kansas until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. This thunderstorm is capable of producing a tornado along with some strong, maybe damaging wind gusts and perhaps even some hail. And outside of just the severe threat, we're tracking also a lot of lightning being produced by these thunderstorms. So let me get in tight here on live power Doppler, zoom in pretty closely here. These storms moving through Topeka as we speak, and they're continuing to move into parts of Lawrence. They could be missing you to the north or perhaps even going to impact parts of Tonganoxie in the near future. I do want to put a pause on this really quickly so you can see obviously where that tornado warning is, the new polygon in red. It does include portions of 59 Highway extending into 24 Highway just north of Lecompton and north of Lawrence. So Lawrence, you are not included in this tornado warning, but you certainly should be prepared in the event that the tornado warning does get issued for your city or perhaps even extends to the far east closer to Leavenworth County, which includes the city of Tonganoxie. So Lecompton, you're included in this warning. Williamstown, you're in the tornado warning. You need to be taking shelter as this warning has just been issued within the last couple of minutes. Hopefully those in Thompsonville, Newman, Perry are already in their safe place. That's the centermost point of the building that you're in or your house, or if maybe a bathroom perhaps, but stay as far away from any doors that are exterior or have any entrance to the exterior of your home. And of course, those windows, you want to stay away from those as well. And if you have a basement, you should be heading there at this time or should already be in your safe place at the moment. So those in Newman, Thompsonville, Perry, Lecompton, Williamstown, those are included in a new tornado warning until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. This thunderstorm is capable of producing a tornado and perhaps damaging wind gusts or even some hail. So let me just get a pause on this again, just to kind of give you an overview of where this is headed next. It's moving east at about 40 miles per hour. It was located near the city of Grantville. And at this time, heavy rains moving into Lecompton and possibly extending out east closer to Leavenworth County. So let me add a little track here. Again, moving eastward at about 40 miles per hour. I'm just going to make sure that everything is up to date here on our maps. So if you live near Dean School, it should be in your area in the next couple of minutes. Buck Creek School 246, Buck Creek 248, Sunnyside School 249, Lawrence Municipal by 254. Pleasant Prairie School 257, and Tonganoxie, you could be seeing this thunderstorm in your neighborhood before the warning expires. So again, just to mention, I want to give you those in the Tonganoxie area a heads up, as this could be capable of producing a tornado or continue to maintain strength. So this storm is pretty powerful along this line of thunderstorms that has continued to better organize, as you see here. Those that live just north of Lawrence, make sure that you're prepared and you've got your plan in place already in the event that this warning gets issued. So far, it looks like the warning only being issued for the last 13 minutes or so, I would say, and it will continue until 3 p.m. This storm will be moving eastward at about 40 miles per hour, and based on the latest update from the National Weather Service, they have seen these storms produce some pretty strong winds. They've already caused some considerable damage, I believe, outside of just in the portions of northeast Kansas where it was earlier today. So now we're tracking more thunderstorms moving through northeast Kansas, headed into our viewing area, which does include portions of Douglas County and, of course, Leavenworth County. You're in a severe thunderstorm warning, not exactly a tornado warning just yet, but those that do live anywhere from, I would say, Tonganoxie, even Linwood, Lawrence, Basehor, Bonner Springs, those who are still under a severe thunderstorm warning should be prepared to take shelter. Now, Lecompton, obviously, want to be looking at those in the community because those are under a tornado warning at this time. Let's also talk about a different product here so that we can see what's inside the storm as far as the winds go. So give me just a moment as I change this on our system here. So it looks like if we were to look at where that tornado would be, I would assume, based on this scan from our wind speeds or the winds inside those storms, I would say anywhere just south of Perry, well northwest of Lawrence. Let me see if I can kind of zoom in a little bit closer here. This is where we're talking. So right outside of Lecompton, where those greens and those reds are touching tightly together, that's where we could be seeing a tight couplet here. Now, that's just based on this latest scan. We obviously want to stay with this for just a couple more minutes to see, what that new update gives us, whether this thing starts to tighten up in rotation or if this thing obviously weakens. But right now, tornado warning in effect for parts of Jefferson and Douglas counties until 3 o'clock. It's about 2:45 right now, and this tornado warning, of course, just being issued by the National Weather Service just recently. I'm going to also break apart real quick and just chat with Savannah here and see if she's seeing anything with the National Weather Service on social media. Savannah, what do you got?
Yeah, hey, Alina. All I have, nothing that much to report. There has been some winds gusting around 72 miles an hour associated with the same storm. Also, it looks like some people have lost power. Other than that, nothing to report on the National Weather Service end, but that tornado warning still in effect, it looks like, until 3 p.m. today.
All right, thanks so much, Savannah. Yeah, so just as she mentioned, 3 o'clock today, we have 15 more minutes of this warning so far, based on the latest update on live power Doppler, the latest scans, just indicating that there could be a tight couplet within that warning zone, but I'm not seeing anything just yet too much. So I just like to kind of switch around here, get a much more high resolution image with our radar so that we can see if there's anything indicating there is rotation besides a velocity product that we've used. And, we can look at a correlation coefficient. We can check that out and see if there's actually any debris getting lofted in the air. So here is what we're using. And obviously, based on this, really difficult to see any debris, anything that looks anything different than what the returns are so far, especially on this particular product. So other than that, we still have this tornado warning in effect. It's not confirmed, but radar indicated. So again, if there are people who are under that tornado warning, I'm hoping you are taking those warnings and obviously doing what you need to get into your safe place in the centermost part of your room, hopefully the lowest level as well. If you have a basement, please get in there right now. This warning in effect for at least another 13 minutes or so. It's 2:46 at this time. All right, let's go in and talk about, new track here. It's been just a few minutes since we first brought you this on our KCTV5 News here at 5, on KCTV News at 5. Here's a latest scan, though, with our tracking. So I'm going to extend this, as you see here, and move it across, even extend it into Tonganoxie, because this could still maintain its strength, could still maintain the potential for the threat of a tornado. That's why if you do hear your city and you're outside of the warning, this is just the precaution of an early heads up, if you will. So 2:47 in Williamstown, 2:49 Dean School, Buck Creek at 2:51, Sunnyside School by 2:52, Knowledge Hill School, if you know where that is, 2:56. Mound School, 2:59, and just shortly after 3 o'clock, 3:04 to be exact, based on this new update, it could be in the city of Tonganoxie or near Tonganoxie Middle School by about 3:04. So I wanted to give folks that do live in the Tonganoxie area that extra heads up, as this storm is moving about 40 miles per hour, pushing eastward, and it could eventually, if it does take that sharp right hook, that's an indication that things may be intensifying here. So let's put this into motion now to give you an idea of what's been happening with this cluster of storms that we've been tracking all afternoon. They started up around 11 a.m. noontime in Nebraska, and then they continued to build in parts of north central and northeastern Kansas earlier today. Severe thunderstorm warnings, though, overall, which pretty much includes almost this entire cluster of thunderstorms, all the way from Mayetta to Valley Falls, stretching down towards Ridgeway, Baldwin City. Now, I mention you not because you're in a tornado warning, but because you are in a severe thunderstorm warning. And what you're seeing on your screen right now, if you are watching us and you're not in that tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning and you're on our news channel here, that those hatched bars actually indicating that this thunderstorm is capable of producing considerable damage and perhaps even a tornado or destructive. So the National Weather Service actually tags on this additional category, indicating that these storms could produce 80-mile-per-hour winds, which could cause destruction, which could cause damage, loss of life. Of course, we want to take this seriously. Even if you're not in a tornado warning, you still need to be making sure that you've got a safe place in the next couple of minutes and you can move quickly to that safe place in the event a new warning gets issued. But those in Lawrence, Baldwin City, I would certainly heed those warnings and make sure that you know where to go if a new warning gets issued. But I certainly would still stay in your house. If I would not go out, that's for sure. If you live in Lawrence or Baldwin City, anywhere between Douglas and even Leavenworth counties that are included in severe thunderstorm warnings. And this even stretches far south into parts of Franklin County, which includes the city of Ottawa. So Ottawa, you are now included in a new severe thunderstorm warning that is capable of producing considerable or destructive damage, meaning that it's possibly producing 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts, maybe even some nickel-sized hail. And just outside of that severe threat, there's the potential for some very frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, and you're probably hearing a lot of thunder in those neighborhoods. So that's why we're here breaking into this program, not just because of the severe thunderstorm warnings, but also because of that tornado warning that was just issued. Does include parts of our viewing area near Lecompton. That does extend to 59 Highway and crossing into 24 Highway. So if we get down to street level here, that includes parts of Williamstown, Perry, Thompsonville. You all are still included in this tornado warning until about 3 o'clock. Buck Creek also included in this warning. And it looks like the storm is going to continue to impact your communities for another 10-15 minutes or so. So you still need to be in your safe place. Savannah, I'm going to check back in with you to see if you've got anything new popping up what you're checking.
Yeah, so it looks like the fire department in Jefferson County in Perryville actually estimated 85-mile-an-hour wind gusts. They said that some signs are blown over and also a lot of heavy rain, zero visibility in this area. I know that's where that tornado warning is located right now, but that tornado warning still issued until 3 p.m. Also, that severe thunderstorm warning associated with that same storm, 80-mile-an-hour winds have been observed.
Okay.
So a lot of windy conditions, also lots of heavy rain. So I doubt you're going to be able to see anything until it's on top of you. So best thing to do is, stay inside, get away from all the windows and go to the most interior room of your house.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice there. Thank you so much, Savannah. Yeah, and feel free to cut me off if you see anything new. I will not be offended whatsoever. But yeah, we do have potential for some rotation here in the cell that is just across near Lecompton, now kind of crossing and hugging against I-70 here. And that's where we're looking at the potential for seeing some rotation. As you see the greens and the reds kind of close together, that's where we would see maybe where a potential tornado could be. Here, I'm going to circle it for you. This is kind of the area of concern that we are watching now. So please, obviously, make sure that you are in your safe place still at this time, as the warning is still in effect for another 8 minutes for southern Jefferson and northern Douglas counties until about 3 p.m. The storm, again, still kind of powerful, producing lots of lightning. If I put on this lightning product, you can actually see, and I can trace it out for you. There's probably hundreds of lightning strikes within the last 15 minutes, over 1,000. That's how powerful these thunderstorms are, and they are certainly also blinding rain. So very heavy rainfall. This is not something you want to be caught outside of. Even if you're not in a tornado warning, you should probably still be in shelter, in your home, not driving around. Please, if you know somebody, you have family or friends that are possibly on the interstate or driving around, you may want to call them and tell them that they need to take shelter immediately if they can, and avoid the area if at all possible. If you know somebody that's headed that way, hopefully they have gotten those warnings. I know we certainly do on our cell phones. The emergency warnings come through. Our app, they come through. I know we've had multiple warnings already being issued by the National Weather Service, including this tornado warning right now. Now a new a new severe thunderstorm warning, which now has been extended. You can see it's flashing on your screen here, now including portions of Leavenworth, just a clip of Wyandotte, and even now Johnson County. Olathe, Overland Park. You're not included in the severe thunderstorm warning, but this is your extra heads up that this storm is headed your way in the next, I would say, half hour to 45 minutes or so. So by about 3:45, maybe even closer to 4 p.m., I think we'll be expecting these storms to be knocking on your doorstep, possibly here at KCTV5 Studios in Fairway. I am expecting these storms to come blasting through here in the next hour or two. Now, you can see basically on reflectivity here that we do have some bit of a bowing out with this line segment that goes from Ridgeway and extends all the way up to Oskaloosa. And this leading edge is the one that will be focused on most intently, where there could be a brief spin up. And we mentioned that last night on KCTV5 News at 10, that with any of these bowing segments, you can get a brief spin up, a brief tornado to touch down, quickly cause some damage, and then pick itself right back up. So that was the main concern with the worst case scenario, which looks to be what we're being precautioned about at the moment. Again, no signs or pictures of any evidence or any confirmation at this time. So far, just radar confirmed tornado right there outside of Lecompton, Kansas. And these storms are pushing eastward at about 40 miles per hour. So let me once more spread the picture out, give you another track here. And I'm going to extend this line out for the entire segment here and move it out east. As you see here, looks like we could see these storms heading near Lawrence by 3:04. Still, the timeline looks very similar. I think we could be dealing with these in the next 10 minutes there near Lawrence. Eudora, get ready for some strong storms to come blasting through. Even if it's not a tornado, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts can cause damage, can knock down trees, power lines, cause power outages. And this is a pretty long line of storms we're talking here. Bonner Springs, 326. That's when we could be seeing those storms move into the Bonner Springs area. And just talking with the news department earlier this afternoon, it sounds like there is a concert that will be going on at the Azura Amphitheater here in the next couple of hours. So if you had plans and you're headed to Bonner Springs or you're in the Bonner Springs area right now, I would certainly wait it out, wait for these storms to come through before you start to make those plans towards the theater. I know that starts in a couple of hours, but folks like to get there early, get a parking spot, things like that. But by 3:26 or maybe even just a few minutes shy of that time, that's where it could be in Bonner Springs. Edwardsville, heads up for you, 3:31. Overland Park by 3:44. Just as I mentioned, I said it could be there by 3:45, almost 4 o'clock in the Overland Park area. And that's exactly what our computer system is giving us right now based on the direction and the speed of this storm. It could be in the Kansas City neighborhood, or at least KCK by 3:47, perhaps even Arrowhead Stadium before 4 p.m. and near Lee Summit at 4:09 if this continues to hold together. So I want to do another look at the scope here, kind of get into the storm winds and kind of show you what the latest scans have shown. And so far, we're watching this thing kind of fall apart a little bit. So this is good news. This is great news for those in Perry, because as you look right here, as we've put this into motion, it doesn't look like that couplet has really hung out or been tight enough. It's starting to broaden out a bit. It's starting to show some signs of loosening up on that rotation. So as it continues tracking eastward, now the tornado threat may not be imminent in Tonganoxie, but the strong winds, and I can't reiterate that enough, 80-mile-per-hour gusts can certainly push some people around. It could cause some damage to some very weak trees, weak tree limbs, and things of the like. Now, I wanted to just break apart real quick once more. Savannah, what do you got going on?
Yeah, it doesn't look like any other reports are coming in, just some very windy conditions. There was an 80-mile-an-hour wind gust reported. Also, let's see, that 85-mile-an-hour wind gust. There were also some reports of some shingles being blown off of houses. So even though maybe your neck of the woods isn't in a tornado warning, straight line winds can still do a lot of damage, especially at 70 to 85 miles an hour. So nothing to play around with. Definitely want to make sure that you're inside for these showers and storms as they very quickly approach, moving around 30 to 40 miles an hour to the east. So they are going to be in your neck of the woods within the next few hours, especially if you're in Kansas City or over in Olathe, Spring Hill. So just go ahead and make sure to have that preparation and plan right now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's certainly what we've been tracking for the last couple of hours is the potential for some strong storms to push through, main threat, damaging wind gusts, and of course, that opportunity for a brief spin up. And here we are at 2:58, just 2 minutes before the warning will expire. So we're just going to ride this thing out for the next 2 minutes to see how things look, because this line segment was bowing out quite a bit. Now it looks a little bit more raggedy along the leading edge of it as I just kind of scrub through here. I'm going to go back and forth so folks at home who are really intently watching and seeing the evolution of these thunderstorms, you can see most of them starting to spread out a bit more and not nearly as flat ahead of it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This isn't nearly as organized or tightly put together here across the leading edge of this cluster of storms. So what's that tells me is that these thunderstorms are not necessarily losing their steam, but obviously not organized enough for some spin-ups, but certainly something we need to watch for any notches, at least out ahead of them, where they could still spin up. We've got a very ripe atmosphere for these strong storms. It's been a hot day. Temperatures have been in the 90s. We've had a lot of moisture content in the air. I mean, the dew points have been in the upper 60s to around 70 in some locations. So all the fuel needed and necessary for these thunderstorms to maintain themselves, and that is what we have going on at this moment. So far, new update to a severe thunderstorm warning, as you notice right here near Oskaloosa. So it concludes the county of Jefferson in Kansas, where this thunderstorm is capable of producing 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that's the main concern that we've been, talking about for the last day or so. Still have that tornado warning, and it looks like the National Weather Service is allowing it to expire. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to monitor these thunderstorms for you. We've got a newscast coming up in the next hour at 4 o'clock. We'll certainly bring you the latest update. If and when a new tornado warning gets issued, we will absolutely come in and break through in that programming. But otherwise, I think we're going to continue to watch these storms as they race through, because 70, 80-mile-per-hour winds certainly could cause some damage to tree limbs, knock down power lines, cause power outages. I haven't seen a whole lot on social media, as I'm also trying to do some tracking here, and along with Savannah Tennyson, who's alongside me, and tracking what's going on with the National Weather Service chat, keeping up to date. Looks like we could see these storms in the Kansas City area here in the next hour. So we are obviously going to be watching these very closely. You're probably looking at your screen. There's a lot of colors out there. Any polygon you see in the yellow, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. New update though, we do not have any tornado warnings at this time, but these severe thunderstorm warnings have an extra subcategory attached to them where the 70, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible. So straight line wind damage is, of course, now the main concern. There is the potential we may have another brief spin up here in the next hour or two as these come blasting on through. If that happens to be the case, we will absolutely bring you that latest information as soon as possible. But those that were in the Perry area, I would still stay in and around that safe place, even though the tornado warning has been lifted. I think that's great news. It is still raining very heavily. We've got tons of lightning. I think within the last 15 minutes, there were still at least 1,000 lightning bolts in that time frame you can see on this map. So these are powerful storms. We'll keep you updated here on KCTV 5 News, but for now, we'll send you back to the regular